everybody, it's Rae, and I am joined by AAron, and we are doing a room review. This is the what is this? The non-spoiler review version of the review for Thor Ragnarok. It came out on the 3rd of November in 2017. Runtime 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it is a PG-13 movie. Aaron, if you would give us a rundown of the characters and also a synopsis of the movie.
Alrighty. So directed by Taika Waititi. Also, credits to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, creators of the character. Um, Chris Hemsworth stars as Thor. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Kate Blanchett as Hela. Idris Elba as Heimdall. Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. Carl Urban as Scourge. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Anthony Hopkins as Odin, and a bunch of other people. So synopsis of this movie, I don't have one pulled up, but the synopsis that I usually would go with is that shit gets fucked up in this movie. It's a Marvel movie. In prison, Thor the Almighty finds himself in a lethal gladiatorial contest against Hulk, his former ally. Thor must fight survival and race against time to prevent all powerful Hela from destroying his home and Asgardian civilization. So,
Yeah. So Aaron, let's start off with one thing that you liked about the movie the most, and the thing that one thing that you not necessarily disliked, but that you kind of liked less. Cause it's hard because we've already recorded this, but we like this movie, right?
yeah, this movie doesn't have a lot of flaws,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I will give one. I feel like the that's a spoiler. Never mind. Can't say that. That's probably my only thing that's wrong with it, and it's a spoiler, so it have to be in the spoiler section. But what I really liked about this movie is funny, and not like regular funny where you chuckle under your breath, but like laugh out, gut, like laugh funny. Would you agree?
I would. I laughed a lot during the movie, and a lot more than I would expect for a Thor movie, because Thor movies have a tendency to be a little dark, not as enjoyable, I would say. So one thing that I would say that I liked about the movie is I liked that it was a movie that was of moderate consequence to the Marvel universe, in the sense of like not a whole lot changed in the overall idea of the Marvel universe, but a lot happened. Like a lot of things are really subtle that happened in the movie. Can't really get too much into a lot of it because a lot of it is spoilery. As far as things that I feel like I so-called didn't like, I would say the only disappointment that I had is that there was one or two scenes that I saw in the trailer that I was really excited for, and they turned out to not be very large parts of the movie. And that
Yeah.
was just a little disappointing because I was kind of like, oh, I was looking forward to seeing that in the movie, but tis what it
On,
is.
on a side note, Marvel will actively lie to you in trailers.
Yes.
Like, don't go in thinking that the trailers ruined anything. They've done this in Civil War, where they just fucking lied to you straight out.
Yeah, they have absolutely no problem
Scenes in that
lying
aren't.
to you. And I think that that's actually a really good tactic that they're taking on, because there's more than one occasion where I've seen too much in a trailer. And that's kind of why I had a
Oh,
tendency to step away from them, is because I'm kind of like, well, they're going to ruin certain parts of the movie, but Marvel has really mastered the trailer, I think.
we're looking at you, Batman versus Superman.
What'd
At
you
you.
say?
I said we're looking at you, Batman versus Superman. We're looking at you.
We're not looking at you. Let's see. So, well, where do we start? First of all, the cast in this movie was completely just amazing. Of course, we have our recurring characters, such as Chris Hemsworth, and the guy who plays Loki, and Idris Elba and Himdall and stuff like that. Of course, they did their thing, but then we were introduced to some new characters. Tessa Thompson is Valkyrie. She was absolutely amazing. She held her own in this Marvel universe, especially as a newbie and a newcomer. Um, Jeff Goldblum, nigga.
You,
Hmm?
they didn't even Jeff Goldblum Jeff Goldblum didn't even know he was doing a movie. That's just how he acts at his house. Like, I'm convinced that Jeff Goldblum, they just like, we only gonna have him for like 5 minutes, but he's so good, we just got to keep putting him
Yeah.
in. Like, I'm pretty sure it was just a guest spot, and then they saw what he was doing, was like, oh no, we gotta keep him in the movie.
Yeah, they definitely need to keep him. They need to keep him in the movie. Kate Blanchett as Hela.
Chewing up that scenery. Uh,
she she was that nigga for real in this movie. Like, if you listen to any reviews, typically I am a very big fan of villains because I feel like they create the stakes of the movie and they justify the whole movie in general. And she was a badass bad guy. Like, she was definitely playing somebody to where it was like, we can't turn around, we can't let this bitch just be out here like this, we gotta go kill her, you know what I mean?
she, she was formidable in a way that, like, you don't see many like fighting based villains. Like Loki was a fighting based villain. Hella like people to actually fight enemies. Like being that powerful. Like Ego the Living Planet wasn't fighting anybody. You know what I'm saying? In Guardians of the Galaxy. Like she's the most powerful character we've seen so far in the universe.
Absolutely. We also had a newcomer in, what's his name, scroll down. Actually, the director played him. Taika
Yes.
Waititi played a character called Korg. He was hilarious in the movie.
Orc
Probably
stole.
probably one of my favorite characters in the movie was Korg. He was a supporting character who had a small but also very large part in continuing the comedy that was going on in the movie. I I wanted like I want to tell a joke, but I feel like it's a little bit spoilery. Um, just
I'll
basically,
do that.
Korg was like the guy at your job that's been stuck in middle management just a little too long, and he's just kind of like,
Right.
it's my job, it's whatever. I
I like I like I like the fact that I'll just say I like New Doug.
knew Doug. um, Also Meek, thought that we lost him for a while, but we didn't. Meek is still that nigga. Let's see. Hmm?
And I said Meek's my man.
Is there anybody else that you think did a standout performance?
Not really. I mean, you got to give it to Mark Ruffalo because he did the motion capture for Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And he also did, his main character. And I like the way they expanded Bruce Banner. It's not a big spoiler. Bruce Banner's been gone for 2 years, so to see him kind of come out of that and be, kind of all over the place, I felt like that was a good character, a beat for him.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual plot of the story without spoiling too much of anything. How do you think the plot was overall?
Oh, the plot was great. I was not expecting as much of the Ragnarok portion of it as I got. I know it was called Thor Ragnarok, but I was expecting more War for the Planet Hulk um, in there, and they kind of mixed it up to where two different comic books mashed together, and they just made one great story. Man, I was in shock that they were able to do it so well. I guess I shouldn't be. It's Marvel, but I
Mm-hmm.
was.
I would say, as a person who doesn't know very much about the comic books that you're talking about, I think that the plot was actually, it was pretty easy to follow, and it wasn't one of those things where it was like, oh, you have to know about the comic books to understand what's going on,
Right.
because in the story, like, they just kind of like say Ragnarok, and you don't like, they explain it later on, but you don't really know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of like, oh, it's Ragnarok, and I'm like, well, is that like a person? Like, I was a little lost at first, but they kind of go back and explain it a little bit later. Um, as far as the rest of the plot, it actually, they had good pacing on it. I do feel like I kind of wish, and I don't think this is too spoilery, but I wish that we spent a little bit more time in Asgard than we did in other
Yeah.
places. But the stuff that was going on in the other place was so good. Like, I kind of didn't want to leave, but I understood that we gotta get back. You gotta
And it was beautiful. Like it was a beautiful movie to look at.
yes.
Marvel has been this thing where they really have been colorful as of late,
Mm-hmm.
and their space-based films have been really, really bright. And I like the fact that when you got to Sakaar, it was just like bright and like full of life, and like you could see where the money went in this movie.
Yeah.
And obviously, they with their opening weekend being $121 million. Whew.
Sheesh. I'll tell you. I think a
Open.
lot of the money went to the devil's anus. So there's that.
You know what? Yes, a lot of money did go to the devil's anus.
I would also say that I think that it also creates, like, this movie creates a lot of good continuity as far as what Marvel Universe thinks of space. It creates a lot of continuity between this and Guardians of the Galaxy, in the way that, like, space seems like, it just seems like Earth is the most boring place ever.
Yes,
Like, the planets are punchy and they're colorful and they're interesting and they got all different types of life forms, and for the most part space seems like a lot of fun on different planets,
right.
versus Earth is just all regular and mundane, and it kind of makes you wish that you can go to those other places. And I felt like there was some good continuity between that between the spaces in Marvel, because I don't know if you guys watch Agents of Shield, but Agents of Shield space isn't always, whenever they're in space, is never great. Um, I mean,
Well,
specifically that one
with
time with O
this
Girl in
with
Hive.
this upcoming season,
Oh, I
we
can't
going to
wait. I can't wait. So maybe there will be more of that. I understand that in the Marvel movies, we're talking movie budget versus TV budget. So we're talking two completely different numbers. But I was really happy to see that space looked colorful, looked fun. It looked like it would be the same type of planets in space that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be going through, versus it
exactly.
being like, oh, well, since we're on one, like, oh, well, this planet is going to be all dull and lifeless. And it wasn't real like Star Trek-y, and where it's all just kind of like, oh, spaceships and sadness. So,
It, and along those lines, um, you talked about it earlier with the continuity. Marvel was pulling shit from like 4 movies ago
yeah.
and making references shit from like Avengers 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what you can do when you have a universe that has 17 movies in it. Is
Mm-hmm.
that you can take what that have taken this time. I'm looking at you, WB. Um, if you take your time, you can build out these characters, and you can have little callbacks to the first movie or the second movie. Like this, it was just crazy that they even brought that up because it's we'll get into the spoiler shit. But it was really impressive the way they did it.
I would definitely also say, like, what was I gonna say? I think that the callbacks, I just, to me, it's just really masterful how Marvel does the whole thing, because I've said before that I don't think that I would probably watch the Thor movies if it wasn't for the continuity of, like, keeping up with the Marvel universe and knowing everything that's going on. This is one of the first This is one of the first Thor movies where, when I saw it in theater, I was like, oh, Nick, I got to see this. And so I really like it, because it pays off in a way to know, like, okay, well, I saw this movie, and then there's certain, like, inside jokes that it's like, oh yeah, we all in the theater get that joke because we've seen all the movies, you know
Right.
and it puts everybody, like, I don't know how to explain it. It just, like, puts everybody's in on this inside joke, and it's cool. So I definitely enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that we should really discuss, because we can't, it's hard to get into it when you can't say too much.
Right. And
Um,
for our patrons, we will be doing a spoiler cast where we go kind of deeper into it. Just throw that out there.
so yeah, well, do you want to wrap it up now? I can add
Yeah,
this.
yeah, we can wrap it up. I mean, my scores stayed the same. We've recorded this already once.
Yeah.
Little curtain. Uh, so my score stays the same. I'm giving it a 5, man. 5 is the highest number we can give it.
Yeah, I'm still gonna give it a 4.5. Not for any particular reason. I'm just reserving my 5 for Black Panther. So yeah, 4.5. So I think that that ended up being like 4.75 stars, which I think is a more than fair grade for Thor Ragnarok. Just real quick for you guys, in my assessment, the movie is definitely worth IMAX, not necessarily worth 3D. You can save that couple of bucks and get
No.
yourself some popcorn. So, I mean, because the 3D, there's some moment that it would be worth it, like at the very, very beginning, or, when you finally do get to see that Pegasus scene or the Pegasi scene, that'll probably look cool in 3D. But like I said, those are very small parts of the movie that, that extra $5 per head, you can just, hook yourself up with some milk duds or something. So,
Mm,
yeah, that's my assessment. Not worth the 3D, but definitely worth IMAX. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Peace.